Ladies and gentlemen, hey, hi, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. Warzone is certainly at an interesting point in its overall lifespan right now. Obviously, we're going on year 4 of Warzone in general here. March 10th, 2020 was that initial launch date, so we're coming up on that 4-year anniversary pretty quickly. I'm not gonna lie, time is flying by. But with that, going into year 4 of Warzone, we have seen a lot of very significant updates over time, going from Modern Warfare 2019 to Cold War, Cold War to Vanguard, Vanguard to Warzone 2, Warzone 2 to MW3. Now, year over year, the game has changed largely, and sometimes for the good and sometimes for the worse. That said, 4 years for a game is a long time for it to be continually being updated, and that doesn't seem to be slowing down anytime soon. We know we've got Goal 4 coming up here in late 2024, a new COD after that, a new COD in 2026 from Infinity Ward, a new COD beyond that in 2027 from Sledgehammer. However, Warzone's longevity could be particularly hard to keep up, especially when it seems like they are running out of chances in a way. As I said, we've seen plenty of significant updates over the past couple of years for Warzone, but in recent times, it seems like there's a common theme within Warzone updates that unfortunately means a lot of redoing and not a lot of innovation or progressing. Obviously, you look back at Warzone 1, and that was a game that was, one, massive. By far the biggest peak of Warzone for, certain circumstances in play that definitely helped out. Everyone being stuck at home meant a lot more players on the game, and so actually reaching the true peak of Warzone yet again probably is never going to happen unless the game just completely explodes out of the blue for some, unknown reason that's just incredibly difficult to predict, right? Going back to what it was during the OG Peak Verdansk days, that's a thing that will probably never happen again in Warzone. But in terms of the state of the game and the quality of life, that's absolutely something we should see improved upon year over year. That hasn't always been the case though. OG Warzone throughout Modern Warfare 2019, Cold War, and Vanguard was definitely a state of constant learning and innovation. As we know now, back then, Warzone was not supposed to be a multi-year game. It was supposed to be Warzone dropped with MW 2019 as a third mode, and then when Cold War dropped, we were supposed to go back to Blackout. We had the Ural Mountains map, everything there was set up for that to happen. And then Warzone took off, obviously. It became the biggest game on the planet, and they're like, we can't throw this away after 1 year, so they kept it up. They put the integration of Cold War into Warzone, obviously caused a whole lot of issues at launch and took a long time to correct course there. That was a year of constant learning and, some innovation here and there, but for the most part, just figuring out, okay, how do we approach innovations? Vanguard, same deal. They go through, they add in the integration for that, breaks the game in a lot of ways, and they realize, hey, the past few years of learning about what Warzone can handle and what it can't really showed us that Warzone 1 was not built to be a multi-year game. This is a game that just can't handle all of these updates and all these changes year over year. And so while it was always seeing new updates go live, new innovations go live with LTMs and gameplay updates and map changes and all sorts of stuff like that, it ultimately ran its course and the game just couldn't handle anymore, and thus enters Warzone 2, which should have been, a culmination of the past 3 years of MW 2019 Warzone, Cold War Warzone, and Vanguard Warzone mashed into one with all the, significant improvements and changes that we saw that were well received, plus all the new innovations of whatever MW2 wanted to bring in. Ultimately, though, that of course was not the case. Warzone 2 was built as a game that could handle multiple years of updates. It was built for the future to handle new integrations, to handle shifts from studio to studio, because all the COD games post Warzone 2 are being built at their core from the same exact engine. So it was built for the future. It's a game that could handle these updates, but it chose to basically revert a ton of what was learned throughout Warzone 1 in those 3 years of those games. What worked well for gameplay, pacing, map design, all sorts of stuff like that was changed in favor of this full reset for whatever reason. And obviously Warzone 2 launched, the hype was so there. Everyone was so excited to get to a new engine upgrade of Warzone, really be ready for the future and have a game that was on par with those other competitors at the time. And while at its core, yeah, the game handled it, it also just did not feel right from a gameplay standpoint. The design decisions were not well received, and then basically the entire year of MW2 and Warzone 2, they had to spend every major update redoing things. Okay, hey, this fan favorite feature from Warzone 1, it's back now. Hey, this feature, it's back now. This change, we've brought it back from Warzone 1. The entire year was spent redoing updates that they'd already just done for the past couple of years back on Warzone 1. And so there was very little innovation. And so that's a year from like the outside looking in that really was a wasted opportunity in a sense. Sure, Warzone 2 had a few new things here and there, ranked play being one of the major significant ones, the nuke quest, things like that. It certainly saw some innovations here and there, but most of that was overshadowed by the fact that the entire year was spent redoing what we already did in Warzone 1 because of that, I guess, major undoing at launch, if you want to refer to it as that. And then you get to this year, Warzone 3. Again, at launch is a way to sort of correct course. All right, we changed everything from Warzone 2 because we wanted to. It didn't work. We're now going to stray away from what we did in Warzone 2 and bring the game more back in line with what we did in Warzone 1. And while it's not obviously a one-to-one copy of what Warzone 1 gameplay is, it's definitely the closest thing that we've had in some time. But that said, going forward, things are also looking a tad bit questionable, I would say. As we get into this portion of the conversation, by the way, quick reminder, if you want to guarantee you're always up to date with everything going on in COD, new updates, leaks, everything like that, you'll find it right here. So feel free to hit that subscribe button, turn on those post notifications. And if you enjoyed this video, do me a favor and drop a like on it. It would be seriously appreciated. But obviously, MW3 Warzone has brought us back in line with what we hoped we would see initially, I would say, at launch of Warzone 2. However, based off of what we know so far, at least, it still seems like we're in the stage of a lot of redoing and a lot of getting back to where we were rather than true innovations, right? For instance, Raven posted this tweet back with the launch of Season 1 Reloaded. Obviously, that update broke the game, but they said, hey, we've been laying the groundwork for the return of some fan favorite features in upcoming seasons, which has required a degree of preemptive setup in our live environment. That's what ended up breaking the servers, but this indicates that a lot of what they're working on right now for the future of Warzone, while it is innovative to this version of Warzone, is still a lot of things that we've seen before that just had to be removed apparently for the launch of Warzone 2, and we're back into that, okay, we did this before, it worked, now we have to do it again because it wasn't there at launch. And whether that is straight up design decisions or it's a result of, you know, rushed development times, whatever the case may be, it's just ultimately where we're at now. Still a lot of redoing and not a whole lot of brand new, not a whole lot of innovation here and there. And that's probably going to remain the same throughout the rest of MW3 Warzone. Raven says they've got multiple fan favorite features in the pipeline. That's going to be several seasons worth of content going forward. And then by the time we get to a place where we're at all the equivalents, I guess you would say, for the features and the innovations of Warzone 1 now being alive in MW3 Warzone in the current state of Warzone, then Gulf War has arrived and we're at a new integration, and hopefully that means that by this time Gulf War and beyond will be where the true innovations of Warzone come, where it's not every update's, hey, there's a couple of new things here, but it's mostly all these things that we loved before that we now have to reintroduce. And hey, this season's just gonna be based around fixing this broken thing that was already updated back in Warzone 1 but broke again with Warzone in the past couple of years. Ideally, it's just a whole lot of, hey, new update, new update, new update every single time we see major patches. So hopefully all that having been said, you kind of see the more clear vision, I guess, of the idea that Warzone could be running out of chances. We see these significant updates year over year, season over season, and recently it's just been a whole lot of redoing because of the undoing of Warzone 2. And that said, that's sort of a disinteresting thing for some players. You know, they want to bring their friends back to Warzone and say, hey, look at all this new stuff. But there's not all that much new stuff in some cases. So hopefully this turns around and sort of corrects course as time goes on, as they do reintroduce these things and stabilize things out, and we get back to that almost one-to-one feeling of Warzone now compared to Warzone back in the day during its peak and its golden days of Verdansk and Cold War and whatnot. How long that's going to take, though, really only time is going to tell. Going forward, the seasonal updates probably should be more positive rather than, hey, what the heck is going on here? What are we doing? Which was a lot of what we saw in Warzone 2 and MW2 for the most part. But, let me know what you guys think of this down in the comments below. Do you feel like Warzone can continue on this trend of having to redo things that worked in the past before it just does entirely run out of chances? Or do you feel like this is stuff that hey, you might as well get out of the way now so that come goal 4, come beyond that, we have all these significant updates that are constantly improving and improving as time goes on. That is going to wrap things up for this one, though. If you enjoyed the video, do me a favor and drop a like on it. And if you're new to the channel, you want to guarantee that every single day you are always up to date with all things going on in COD, be sure to hit that subscribe button on your way out. But once again, thank you so much for tuning in. And until next time, take it easy, have an awesome rest of your day, and I'll catch you later. Peace out.